In the brief intro I suggested previously, there are three different aspects we can view drawing from. One is as an art form in which a drawing can be seen as a finished, discrete work of art. Although this beautiful sanguine crayon drawing by Renaissance artist André del Sarto was almost certainly a study for painting, it is also a work of art in and of itself. The second aspect or point of view was the idea of drawing as a design tool, perhaps as a preliminary drawing for a painting. For example, this late Renaissance drawing by the Italian artist Pontormo. And here is the finished painting. Here is a product design concept drawing by Leonardo da Vinci. Of course, you can look at this drawing and Pontormo's as a work of art as well, but it was essentially made for design purposes as a preconception of something else. Here's a drawing by the great British automotive engineer Alex Issigonis. It shows a very early concept drawing for his mini car. This was a eureka moment in car design, captured in a rough drawing, quite possibly one of the great napkin drawings of all time, made when a design idea seized Issigonis. He came up with the brilliant concept of mounting the car engine transversely rather than longitudinally, and driving the front wheels instead of the rear wheels. Front-wheel drive, transverse engine, monocoque unibody construction with front and rear subframes allowed a small vehicle to have an enormous amount of interior room. Every modern hatchback car is based on Issigonis' mini concept. Issigonis' drawing is an exploration of innovative new arrangements of form. Boom! Here's an exploded drawing, a technical drawing of sorts, not art, but it clearly illustrates how drawing can describe not just form, but how forms might be assembled. We will be dealing with these first two more technical applications for drawing as an art form and as a design tool directly as we wade through the content of this course. We'll be considering things like line quality, perspective, tonal values, contours as we proceed with the course and our drawing practice. The third point of view toward drawing is as a perceptual tool. It can help us see the world around us and the images generated by our cultures. Not just during the act of drawing and describing form, but also in general. Drawing might help us to develop a greater sensitivity to things visual, which might be of great value. Because with an untrained eye and mind, it seems we only see just enough to prevent ourselves from bumping into things. This inherent lack of vision is made even worse in this day and age, where there is a plague of images, an epidemic of pictures, very few of which we have the time or desire to lavish attention on. We load our phones with thousands upon thousands of our own pictures, very few of which we look at closely. We post them online, and we relentlessly scroll through tens of thousands of more images from other cell phones on Instagram and Facebook, most of which are completely lacking in salient, visceral visual value. We have no time or inclination to notice repeated motifs or fetishes or preoccupations. We are further bombarded by advertising images in print, in sidebars online, within programming, none of which we pay attention to because it annoys us. That is, perhaps, how advertising works so effectively. Our minds pay no attention to the imagery flooding into our eyes, and this is precisely when we are most suggestible. Images are by nature visceral and irrational. They communicate fears and desires, and as we invest unprecedented amounts of screen time, images wash over us and have their way with us as a result of our inattention. Images are by nature compelling, and to be so overburdened with them impedes our ability to focus clearly and comprehend them. We are disoriented. There is so much visual noise in mass media, we fail to be aware of visually hearing anything discreetly. The visual mind doesn't seem to comprehend images in context, but rather outside of time and space. The visual mind roves freely through the ages, making irrational associations and recognizing recurring motifs and elite fossils from the past without other aspects of mind being aware of these associations. We visually think one thing, but might say we think something quite differently. We don't always think what we say we think. We are not of one mind, and the less time we spend looking deeply at the visual world, the less aware we may be of what we might actually be thinking. The visceral irrationality of images exists both inside the realm of art, where we are more inclined to look closely at what we are seeing, but also outside the realm of art, particularly today where modern mass media has unleashed a Pandora's box of images into the world, and where we are not inclined to look closely at what we're seeing. It may be that we are actually being visually traumatized. We watch videos and movies, moving pictures. They race by us and we follow narratives and dialogue without taking a deep look at the image within the film. Everything races before our eyes. We rarely retrace our steps through a film for a second time. It is astonishing how much you miss the first time through, and the second time, and the third. It is astonishing how you might return to a great film again and again and continue to receive more and more meaning in much the same way that you can return to a great drawing or painting again and again and view it with fresh, innocent eyes. Or as though with fresh, innocent eyes. Imagine a time in the past when a graven image, a picture, was a rare thing. It would have been magical. We would have stared at it for long periods of time. We would have lavished visual attention upon it. It would imprint its configurations upon ourselves. We would become sensitive to seeing these configurations repeated elsewhere, in other images, and out in the world. In the past, we may well have had a far keener visual awareness than we do now. In the modern world, we traverse oceans and continents without experiencing them. We are strapped into and projected across time and space in metallic tubes at high altitude and high velocity. We see nothing of what is below except what we can observe from a mere porthole in a window. This is what we call travel. This is something most people aspire to end up with little context in a faraway place, perhaps where it is warmer or cooler. People associate travel with having an experience, but is it really much of an experience? Would we not experience more simply walking from our front door? We sit in cars and the world flashes by our windows. Travel is reduced to a blur. There is no detail. There is climate control, so there's no climate. No feeling for the kilometers racing by. The body knows little of the journey, nor the eyes and the mind. Travel devoid of experience. We now carry a camera everywhere in the world. Does a camera perhaps frame experience and allow us to recapture it? Snap, 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 snap. Digital images that cost nothing to produce require no time and effort or extended observation to generate. The argument that a camera enhances visual experience is dubious. Does a camera really make us look more closely at the world? When I was an art student in Italy for my fourth and final year of art college, the school had a studio on Piazza Santa Croce. Here's Santa Croce, the piazza, and here is where the studio was. The piazza is generally full of vendors, a lot of leather and souvenir stuff, and we would watch many a bus of tourists arrive. This was 1979, and video cameras were a new technology. We would watch tourists disgorge from the bus the enormous container that had transported them to the piazza with very little sensation of travel. Some of them would then clamp a video camera to their eye socket and walk around the whole piazza, taking everything in through its lens. As they circumvented the piazza, we would watch to see how long they might keep this up for. Some people actually walked around the whole piazza, one unblinking camera view. They captured the whole spectacle on videotape through the eye of a lens, but really, I would suggest, saw and experienced very little of the place they had spent vast sums of money to visit. I think that in today's world of relentless digital photograph taking, we are in a place of even greater experiential poverty than those tourists with video cameras in the late 70s were. We pay little attention to what is flashing by us in our cars, in streamed videos, and through the lenses of our cell phones. I'm supposing that observational drawing can be an important way of taking time to look at an image, and most especially the world, and actually taking the time to look at the substance of form and matter. I would hope the intensity of vision that results might help you cope with the contemporary deluge of images and rapidly moving the rapidly moving world, and help you find meaning in less rather than be hopelessly confused and lost in more. As well as an art form and a design tool, drawing can be a perceptual tool.